Hey crew, Coach Josh here with GarageGangGyms.com, and if you've got one of these, a pellet grill, you probably have one of these. A grease stain. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Josh, grease stains are just part of it. No, not in my world, no way. My wife can't believe we have a grease stain that big, and it's only been a couple months that we've had this grill. Now, a lot of you that have these, you have a bucket. You knock the bucket, it falls over. So what will you do? What I did was I bought a ceramic magnet and I tried to pin that magnet between the notch and the bucket handle, and it worked a little bit until I tried to put the cover on. As soon as I put the cover on, knock it over, and the cover got gross. So what did I do? I went online, I looked at reviews, and I bought this thing, okay? This is not a generic, this is not a knockoff. This is the Grease Can Guard, okay? I spent $70 on this thing. And why? Because I didn't want to spend $100 on the Grease Box, even though I should have. So today we're going to talk about the difference between the Grease Box, the fix that actually works, and this thing, okay? So let's quickly talk about their competition. This is just a spout, right? It goes down the spout into the bucket. Now, you can see the video that I did about this, the buyer beware video on this, and I show you receipts. I show you their advertisement and what I ended up with. Just to keep a long story short, the bucket should have been bigger. The mechanism is different than they claimed. It's really tinny and junky, and you can hear that. It's very thin metal. I'm surprised it actually didn't warp. It was supposed to come with a silicone insert. It didn't. It came with tin foil. That tin foil bent, and that's where my grease stain came from. It didn't come from the bucket. So let's actually talk about the Grease Box. So first thing about the Grease Box is just how it is. This overbox, which I'll show you in a second, I'll actually take it off because it doesn't take very long at all, is attached to the spout. Now what's really cool is not only does this go on so many different grills, I mean there's a list and I'll flash it for you on the screen here, but there's also adapters that come with the box, which is awesome. And for $10, if you have one of those more rectangular, like a thinner rectangular spout, they even have an adapter for that for $10. But again, this thing fits almost everything. So it's multi-parts, right? It's actually 3 parts, and you'll see that in a second. But the main part is this bucket. This bucket weighs pounds. I don't know how many pounds, 2, 3. It's 18 gauge steel. This thing is heavy duty. That other thing that you heard me knocking on, and I'll knock on it again in a little bit, is very tinny. This is steel, right? I did spend the extra $20 on this insert, this silicone insert, and man, I'm glad I did. This comes out really easy, and I actually got 2 with it, and it holds twice as much grease as even the bucket did, and those buckets are pretty big. And again, it's dishwasher safe. It's so easy to clean. You pull this thing out, I'd spray it off with the hose after I dumped it over the fence, you know. I'd spray it with the hose, and if I wanted to, I could throw it in the dishwasher, but I haven't had a need for that yet because it actually stays really clean. So speaking of the silicone insert, here's the second one that I got. So you can see it has a nice taper. The reason this is great is depending upon your spout, and they did such a great job of thinking about this, is maybe your spout's a little over here, this way, that way, whatever, depending upon if you have to use the adapter, if it's a smaller, whatever. This is like a big funnel into the big bucket. And what's cool about this bucket, again, it's the same one that's in here because they send you 2, is this is a large tin insert that you might have used on your bucket. It goes right inside. So it's going to fit inside. You don't have to put, of course, you're not going to put the tin inside of the silicone. You have the silicone for a reason. But just so you know, that's the volume of this thing, right? So it's a full tin volume if you're using the silicone insert. If you go without the silicone insert, again, it's roughly 2 times the volume of your bucket. But if you don't want to buy the silicone, which is, you know, $20, I totally understand. You can use these things. Just keep in mind that you need to make sure that the bucket is under where your spout is going to be. Because again, these silicone inserts, they are wide at the top to completely fill out that box. And then it drains into the bucket, where again, your bucket, you just got to line it up a little bit better right under your spout so it goes straight down. You're not going to have grease gushing out. You don't have to worry about it falling over. I got it. You don't have to worry about it falling over. But again, if you're off by a little bit, it could get inside of your grease box. And again, for $20, I highly recommend you get those silicone inserts. It's just going to make your life a lot easier. It stays a lot cleaner, and you just pull it out, you hose it off, you throw it in the dishwasher, whatever it is, right? So this just slots in. And since getting this grease box, I haven't had a drip drop onto the patio. I mean, it's that good, it catches everything. So let me actually pull this off. There's only 2 screws holding this main part on, and I'll actually show you how easy it is to install. So with my trusty screwdriver, I'm gonna do the one you can't see first. So I'm just gonna pull this screw out quick. And again, so it's just 2 screws that hold this second part onto the first part. Yeah. So real quick, just pull this off. And then what you'll see, and I'll get you a close-up of it. So this just unslots like that. I'm just gonna bring you in. So for the standard setup, and again, there's an adapter that comes with it, but I didn't need it. So this is just your typical small square tubing. So it's that, 1.5 by 1.5. And you take this bracket here that mounts actually flush to your grill, which is really nice. It's nice and solid. And you lift it up and over to the left as high as you can. And I'm gonna see if I can get a good angle in here so you can kind of see the tubing in there. And then as you're holding it, you shoot your 3 screws in here, you shoot your 2 screws in there, and then it's mounted tight. And I didn't have to mount it so tight, like tighten the screws down so much that it actually bent it. It's solid the way it is, okay? And it all comes in the box. And then again, once you have it this far, so this took what, a minute and a half? I think it almost took longer to get the box apart because the box is so solid. But from there, again, you just simply, lift it on, slide it in, make sure that the threads line up. Hello. Make sure the threads line up, and then you just hit your 2 screws, which watch me struggle with just 2 screws. You hit your 2 screws and then you can just slide in your box. And again, it comes with an adapter, so if you have a Rectech or something else other than what I would say is the Traeger style, because this is a very similar spout to the Traeger grill. And I talk about that in the full review of the Z grill. So if you're interested in getting a Z grill, or any pellet grill for that matter, check out my video on the Z grill. But again, so those 2 screws hold it in the rest of the way, and I can just slot this in and we're good to go, okay? So again, comparing this to the competition, let me go get that thing again. So let's just do a sound check. You hear that? Tin, steel. Even though it's not tin, of course this is steel, but it's so janky, it's so swanky. It would get slotted in here, right? I'm not gonna pull it off and show you that because this is not what you wanna get. I mean, this thing I could definitely, I can bend it with my fingers. There's absolutely no way I can do that with this. So the steel is already better. Again, what I thought I was buying and what I ended up getting is totally different. 2 weeks later, they still haven't responded to me, and they guarantee 90-day return policy. I mean, you can't even get a hold of them. There's no silicone insert for this thing. There's grease at the bottom of this thing, and I was using tin inserts. The inserts don't work very well. And again, there's so many generic versions of this that I'm wondering if this was the original, or at least whoever had the original video. And again, if you check out the actual review of this thing, I show a guy holding this mechanism. It's bigger, it's all this stuff. And I wonder who that guy is, because maybe it's not even associated with this company. It could be a total scam, because this did come out of China, so who knows. And I'm not saying it is, I'm just assuming. And again, it was not cool. These guys, I reached out to them after I bought this thing, and I said, hey, I love your fix. I got swindled into buying this thing first. At least I felt swindled. And I should have bought your product first. Hey, I want to tell people about your product. Can I be an affiliate? And guess what they said? Absolutely. Thanks for reaching out. We're a small business. It's great. And again, so that being said, I am affiliated with the Grase Box here. And if you do buy it, great. They do give me a commission on that. It doesn't cost you any more. It's just they're compensating me for giving the word out. And honestly, this is the way to go. Even the cheaper $30 version of this that you could probably buy on Amazon is probably the same way. They're probably using the same videos, the same photos, the same everything, because it's very generic. A lot of Chinese companies tend to do this kind of thing, and you end up with this piece of crap, right? And it's not what you wanted, because again, you probably spent hundreds, maybe even over $1,000 on your grill, and you're gonna have this ugly thing. You're better off with that stupid bucket, right? Now, the last thing that I wanna say about the Grase Box is it actually fits under my cover. I was a little nervous because it is a little bit wider. It doesn't put a lot of tension on my cover. It does fit under my Z Grill cover that came with the Z Grill, which is part of the reason why I think the Z Grill is the best bang for your buck grill you can get. But I was a little nervous. I was like, oh shoot, am I gonna have to buy another cover, one that's a little bit bigger? No, not at all. There's virtually no tension on it. You can see the grease box out of the cover a little bit, like you can see the indentation, but it's not putting stress on my cover at all. If you have the cover that's meant for your grill, chances are it's gonna be just fine, because the smoke pipe does stick out, you know, about that far anyway. So we're only talking a couple inches. So if there's some play in your cover already, you should be totally fine. And you definitely want to cover this up, because even though it's powder coated, you know, things can rust if it gets scratched, right? If this powder coating comes off a little bit, it stays in the rain too many times, you know, it can, it is metal, so it can rust, and you just got to make sure you cover it and take care of it, right? Because it is such a nice thing. You would hate to have such a nice box and it's rusted, right? So again, if you guys are interested in getting something like this, and you are sick of getting grease stains on the ground, and you don't want to have to clean it 1,000 times, because this thing actually will hold 2 times as much as that other bucket, you guys got to get the grease box. So again, get the grease box so you guys can quit ticking off your wives and dropping the grease on the patio, and you guys can get back to cooking. I'll see you guys next time.